All right, everybody, welcome in emergency episode of Load the Box. Unlike some of the other shows, we do have jobs. We had to do our jobs, and then after our jobs, we record this episode. But it will go up tonight, Monday night. So this is one of the rare times where we talk to you guys the same day. Unless you're watching this on Tuesday, in which case I'm, sorry, I lied to you. But big news, right? Kyrie Jackson agreed to his rookie contract. I think that's why we're here tonight for the emergency podcast. That and the T-Wolves got eliminated. Something else happened, though, Will. I'll let you be the one to break the news. I don't like giving good news. I like to be the bad news guy. So
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Justin Jefferson, not Kyrie Jackson, is the big news around here. He is re-signed. As Jordan and I were hoping and speculating, it was a 4-year deal like we had hoped. And it's worth $140 million, 110 of those guaranteed, meaning he will be with the Vikings through the 2028 season. Jordan, your reaction, your thought in the moment. You texted me, I think, about 13 seconds after it happened. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I had a couple of moments of regret about last week's show when we talked about Jefferson, because we were talking and I was like, yeah, I think Jefferson wants more years on the contract guaranteed. I think I was just wrong on that, and I'm gonna toot my own horn here in a second, but I think I was wrong about the length of the contract being what was holding it up, or at least in the way that I said it, because I was saying Jefferson wanted like a 5-year deal. He probably didn't. Jefferson probably wanted like a 3-year deal, and the Vikings probably had to negotiate him into a 4th year, so that way he will be locked up even longer, and that contract will just start looking like a discount as CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, the rest of the market who are comparable but not as good, probably surpass him in dollar value. It's going to be interesting to see if they will. That's a whole nother discussion. We'll save that for a different show, a different day. But in the moment, I'm very excited. I think I was correct. I think we were correct. We were both kind of saying it. Kwesi is giving him his own month. It is Justin Jefferson June, as some people are calling it. And he waited until the Wolves playoff series run was over. And so I've seen a lot of people joking about it. I legitimately wonder how long it's been done. And I wonder what Jefferson and Kwesi's reaction was to, that they almost traded him. They almost traded him during the draft. I wonder if there was a text exchange between the two of them. Well, Kwesi just texted him and said, no, we didn't. We didn't. You know what we're doing on June 3rd, Monday, June 3rd. So I'm very elated. I'm very excited. And I'm so amped to see JJ to JJ for the first time. And I might have to wait another year to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the whole trade rumor thing, obviously, at the time it felt comical. It's now even more comical. It was reported by Adam Schefter today that throughout the last month or two, the Vikings, had received plenty of calls from teams inquiring about Justin Jefferson's trade availability, and reportedly, Kwesi's answer to all of them was an unequivocal no, and the phone call was over, the conversations were over. So I think the idea of the trade was never going to happen. Paul Allen was talking about it today on his show as well, that, the rumors for the Malik Neighbors trade up had no merit, considering that there was really no deal in place for Justin Jefferson to be gone. You're not going to trade for Malik Neighbors if you still have Justin Jefferson. So a lot of smoke, and to your point, the deal's probably been done for a little bit of time at least, especially considering that Justin Jefferson released a very clearly, finely tuned, edited video on his social media this morning before 9 a.m. Central Time. There's no way he made that this morning. It's probably been done for a few days at least. So regardless, he's here. Minicamp starts tomorrow. It's perfect timing. It's kind of what we've all been expecting, frankly. I think, I don't know where you're at with all this, Jordan, but there has been obviously a little bit of trepidation with all these rumors that we've mentioned, and fans wondering if he's leaving, media wonder if he's going to get traded, and all these things. I kind of always thought this was going to happen. Like when you sent me the text this morning, I didn't even necessarily have much of a reaction, because I was kind of like, okay, great. It's Monday. Like, just as much of a true fact as it is that Justin Jefferson was going to be here. And like we said last week, this is why you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, so you can pay guys like Jefferson. So eventually it was going to happen. It's a great number, I think. I don't know where you're at with that, but all of this seems to sort of just make sense in my mind.
Yeah, I had an opposite reaction. I've actually been getting pretty antsy about the Jefferson extension over, and it's weird that it happened when it did, because it really started last, like, Wednesday, I think. It was, like, right before we recorded our show last week, like a day or two before, and I was like, man, why isn't it done? Like, they said they were so close before the season last year, and now he's not at, OTAs, which it's not that big of a deal that he's not at OTAs, but, like, why is, like, are they really going to drag this out until late August, God forbid early September, and is he going to go to camp? I was starting to get pretty anxious about it, and so them announcing it today, I was very like, oh, thank God, because I was telling you before the show, I was beginning to get some real, how are we going to mess this up energy out of the team. And, I was joking with you before we went and started recording here about, I'll out my father on the air here, I guess. My dad saying, he's just another Stephon Diggs. And I was like, he's not. Like, he's just not. And I don't want to debate my father on a show that he's not even on, but, like, we yell at each other enough, and he's watching the baby tomorrow, so I'm sure that we'll talk about it. But I just, he's been so quiet off the field in a way that I don't think we've seen of a superstar be quiet off the field. It's outstanding. And I mean, look back at Viking superstars like Diggs. I guess Thielen would be the last guy, but Thielen wasn't this, like Thielen, we're talking about the best, maybe the best non-quarterback in football, now the highest paid non-quarterback, but Thielen was a great story. He wasn't really much of a diva. Diggs was a diva. Go back to Adrian Peterson. He had legal troubles. Go back to Percy Harvin. He loved weed. And, then of course, Randy Moss, just straight paying his fines with straight cash, homie, and, doing all this nonsense off the field. And just, I feel like there's trauma there for older generations, and so for Jefferson to be so clean cut, it really confused me why it didn't get done sooner. I'm very happy about it. The money, I think, is worth every penny. It came in like 3 or 4 million short of what I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to be pushing 40. I really did. And so the fact that it's, I believe, 35 per year, or is it? Yeah. The fact that it's 35 per year is incredible to me anyway. And yeah, man, I don't know. I'm in a good place. What do you think about the dollar amount? This is the new debate because Cousins is gone. Can you win a Super Bowl with a wide receiver making this much of the cap? Like, we're going to have this debate every 2 days now, I guess. But what are your thoughts?
I loved the number. To your point, we all sort of thought, I don't know if worried is the right word, but we all kind of had suspicions that 40 was not out of the realm of possibility. And, as a fan of the team, you want to keep your guys, but you also don't want to pay more than you have to so that you can pay other people. And in the grand scheme of the entire salary cap, $5 million a year isn't the end of the world, but $5 million could mean an extra linebacker or, a couple extra depth pieces on the offensive line or whatever it might be. And so some of those things, although maybe seem small, they are big things in the big picture. So I thought the number was great. It sort of, I think, did probably what Jefferson wanted it to accomplish, which is he is now the highest paid non-quarterback for at least 1 year.
Yeah.
What's going to come next is probably Jamar Chase is going to ask for a big raise. CeeDee Lamb is going to ask for a raise, that could happen next week with CeeDee Lamb. But it sort of signifies what Jefferson was going for. And so I think there's that piece of, if we're going to bring the whole Kirk Cousins thing back in here, it's what the dollars represent. And in this case, the dollars represent that Justin Jefferson is the best non-quarterback in the NFL. And so I think that checks that box. And I think the other box it checks is you're not paying an arm and a leg for him. It's obviously a ton of money, but for the value that he provides and the incredible talent that he is, I think it's worth every dollar, every penny, whatever cliche you want to use. I'm curious what you think about that whole topic of, can you win a Super Bowl with your wide receiver making this much money? It's obviously maybe a little bit premature for this iteration of the Vikings, but obviously the idea in the next 5 years with Jefferson is to win a Super Bowl. So I don't know, any immediate thoughts on that whole topic?
I've actually been kind of slow cooking. I've been smoking this take since about 3 a.m. this morning about, like, I don't know that it matters. I think as long as you are not paying a QB a quota of your cap space that is nowhere near, like, the best quarterback in the league. Like, I think as long as you get out of that game and you pay guys what they deserve. And I think that ultimately what it's going to come down to is some of these draft picks have to pan out. Okay, a couple of these corners that he keeps drafting have to be able to play. Like the quarterback that he just took has to be good. Has to be like top 10 good at some point in the next 5 years. Dallas Tono has to be really good. All the free agent guys, like, at some point it comes down to you just have to, the few swings that you do take in free agency have to be big hits, and you have to be routinely successful getting 2 or 3 really good to solid players out of the draft. And I think that's more important than anything about how much he's making. The contract breakdown, by the way, his cap number this season will be $8.5 million. Next season, it's only $15 million. Then it jumps up to almost $39 million, $33.5 million, $37.5 million, and then there's a void year at the end of it for $6 million. So we will be paying for him after the fact. And who knows, the Vikings could fall in love with a free agent in the next 2-3 years. And they'll say, hey, Jefferson, we're actually going to move a bunch of your money into that void year, or we're going to tack a couple extra void years on, and who knows what they'll do with the cap gymnastics and stuff. But that is his actual cap number. At no point is he accounting for more than 13% of the cap. So I think that's pretty cool. I think I'm in love with the contract. I really am. I think he got everything he wants. The Vikings get to keep the best receiver in football. And like I said, I was nervous they were going to bungle this in some way. They were going to find a way to fumble this at the 1 yard line, and they didn't. They keep this guy around, and the happiest man on the planet should be J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy should just be over the moon that he now gets to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and bringing up J.J. McCarthy is a really important point here. You talk about the viability of this team winning a Super Bowl. It so much depends on him, and I don't think we're going to be, too audacious here in predicting that the Vikings are going to even be near competing for a Super Bowl this season. But I think within these next 5 years really is sort of this window now where you've locked up the best receiver in the league and you've got your top 10 rookie quarterback. This is the dream scenario that we've all talked about. That we've talked about having, the rookie quarterback contract, and you can pay other people, and the rookie quarterback contract talk only matters and makes sense if that rookie quarterback outperforms his age. if JJ McCarthy has like a slow build into being like, yeah, he's pretty good, and then maybe by year 6 or 7 he ends up being maybe, a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league, it's sort of a moot point for this short tenure of what is probably left of Justin Jefferson's prime. Once you hit about 29, you're kind of, going to be slowly on the downhill of your wide receiver athletic prime, most likely. And so this contract is sort of that window. So you are relying so much on JJ McCarthy. Doesn't have to be this year, but probably in the next 2 to 3 years, outperforming his, young age, and that will be the determining factor of giving this team a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that McCarthy obviously has to come in. He has to play pretty well. I'm not going to say, obviously, like you said, not this year, but 2025, McCarthy, we're counting on you because Jefferson's not making a ton of money. Also, one more quick thing. These will be my final thoughts on this topic. Do you have anything? Do you have more topics you want to get into with it? Yeah, this is. We knew this was going to be a brief one. I don't even know that we were going to do a show this week, but the Vikings just, blew everybody away on a Monday morning. So, a really interesting thing that I think is in here, and maybe I'm looking too far into it. Maybe I'm trying to ruin a good thing. I don't know. If you get on over the cap, you can kind of play around with these contracts, and you can start looking at like, I don't know, what if the Vikings in 2028, they've won a Super Bowl, and it's about time to pay McCarthy. What if they want to save some money? What do you do with Justin Jefferson at that point? Well, you can save $40 million going into the final year of the contract if you trade him. And so, like, just the way that because obviously, like, there's not a ton of guaranteed money in year 4, but you can save a ton of money if you do cut/trade him going into his final year. And so I think the Vikings could find themselves in a similar position to where the Chiefs were. Not that McCarthy's going to be Mahomes, but what do we want to do with this 29-year-old wide receiver who, like Will pointed out, is now starting the back 9 of his career. Might even be on like hole 15 of his career, or like of his elite career. And so you could possibly trade him, get a first-round pick potentially out of him at that point still, and, go get the next, hopefully, Justin Jefferson. And so that's obvious. I mean, my kid will be about to start kindergarten when we're having this conversation, so that's a long way off. But it is fun to look at. I love getting on Over the Cap. Big shout out to them because I was just refreshing their page at work this morning, waiting for them to have the full details of the contract and everything. So really happy that Jefferson's still a Viking. Happy for my brother who bought a Jefferson jersey and then was like, oh my gosh, we're going to trade him. I bought his jersey and they're going to trade him like 6 months later. And so really happy that he gets to keep his Jefferson jersey, doesn't have to hide it away or anything. And yeah, man, what a time to be alive. I'm so ready for football to be like here. It's so far away, but it's so close at the same time. So make sure you shop Unified. Well, check out the Twitter at LTV Vikings. Check out Will on Twitter at Will Badlose. And check out the Bad Loser blog and VikingsTerritory.com. I've been Jordan Hawthorne. Will, I'll kick it off to you.
Fantastic. And just for those who thought Jordan's comments there were downer comments to finish this short episode, he meant the opposite. It's that if the Vikings have that quote-unquote problem in 2028 where Justin Jefferson's getting a little bit old and they've already won a Super Bowl, stop it there. Yeah. You don't have to worry about any more Justin Jefferson years. If you got a Super Bowl out of this deal, I think we're all going to be happy. So this is, for at least today, we can sort of bask in the glory of this move. It is exciting. I also have a Justin Jefferson jersey. I can keep it for at least 4 more years. This is all good news for Vikings fans. And like we've said before in this show, this team would not be competitive with a rookie quarterback if you don't have somebody like Jefferson to throw the ball to. So you got to have a top-tier wide receiver at least to compete and be somewhat high level of a team pushing for division titles in today's NFL. And so you got number 1 in the league. You might as well keep him. You might as well pay him. So big day in Viking land. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, tomorrow, Tuesday, June 4th, is the start of mandatory minicamp. which means all of the Vikings will be there, including number 18. They got 3 days of that this week, and then OTAs finish up next week. So sometime between now and then, Jordan and I will do a sort of OTA/mini camp bow on top show, and then we'll talk about what's next between now and training camp in late July. So this was Load the Box. We'll be back soon next week for more thoughts. Skol y'all.